I'm Bill Leopold, and welcome to this edition of Breakfast at the Barracks. Joining me today is Ben Sopranzetti, Associate Professor of Finance and Economics at the Rutgers Business School in Newark and New Brunswick. Ben, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you could be with us.
I'm really happy to be here, Phil.
One of the things I want to jump in and talk to you about is Business Week named you as one of the top professors and voted so by undergraduate students. And during that interview with Business Week, you had talked with them about the conversation of Guanxi. Can you talk to me about what Guanxi is and kind of how it's important in your classroom experience?
Sure. And Guanxi is a system really of relationships and reciprocity, of deep relationships between two individuals that guide their decisions. It's really a value system.
Okay.
So, in China, unlike the United States or other countries that have common law with enforceable contracts, there's an alternative system to make sure that people do what they say that they're going to do, that they honor their promises.
Okay.
And a deep relationship with two individuals of trust. For example, we have Guanxi. I know you. I know your family. I would know your kids. I would know your entire network of associates.
Okay.
And it's that understanding between us that we have a bond, and that bond is important, and that we're going to be very reluctant to break that bond.
All right.
That enforces these contracts and these gives validity to the relationship. So I bring that to the classroom at Rutgers.
Can you give me some examples about how you bring that to the classroom and what way you've done that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm running a class called Business Valuation in the business school.
Okay.
And this really leverages the relationships that I have with our alumni network. I place about between 30 and 40 students a year, most of them on Wall Street, either in front office investment banking or back office. And what we do in this class is the students apply, about 100 students apply. We winnow it down to about 30 that really want to do investment banking. And I pair the students in groups of two. Each group of 2 students gets one Wall Street mentor. They work on a live deal, and they build it. The thing is, it's not just they're working on a deal and they're learning in the classroom. It's that they're building deep relationships with an industry professional who now knows them, who understands their skill set, their personalities, and then who can help them to leverage their own relationships to create jobs on the street.
Okay, you talked about this class being limited to a number of 30 people. Questions around how do you choose those 30? How do they get into the class?
Well, what's great is I don't choose them.
All right.
The students do.
Okay.
Yeah, so the decision is based on the students that took the class the previous year. They collect the resumes, they review the resumes, they interview the prospective students.
All right.
So, what I've tried to do is I've tried to create a culture of relationships across classes.
All right.
So now the seniors know the juniors, and the juniors are building relationships, mentoring relationships with the sophomores, and the sophomores with the freshmen across the span. Now we're a 4-year business school.
Right.
So it's very important to have these relationships across the undergraduate class, and now we're extending that to the MBAs as well.
Well, let's talk about the MBAs. So we talked about the undergraduates. How does Guanxi work with the MBAs? I know it's a little different kind of experience for them. Yeah, well,
with an undergraduate, they're coming into the job force. They're really coming in at a functional level.
Okay.
So you're coming. I'm hiring you as a finance major to be a financial analyst in this kind of job. So what they're looking for is a set of transferable skills for sure.
All right.
But at the MBA level, now what we're looking is somebody to manage and lead those undergraduates. So the skill set is broader, and the type of job search that you need to make is broader as well, and the network needs to be broader. So what we're doing at the MBA levels, we created a network called the Finance Alumni Network that I was on the ground floor.
Okay.
And we've literally reached out. We started with Ivan Brick, who's the department chair, and his network of alums up in Newark, and John Longo and me down here in New Brunswick, and our network of alums here, and we married the two.
Okay.
And we just ran an event last night in Newark to reach out to the alumni. We invite the undergraduates and the MBAs to come to our events, and these types of getting these individuals together.
All right.
Creates opportunities both for Rutgers and for the students on the market.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that relationship, because one of the things that you talked about is you would rely on alumni who are out in the workforce to be able to tie with our undergraduate students, and you talk a lot about the alumni network tying with our MBA students. So can you talk to me about how you got to know the alumni? Were they in your class? Were they folks you met through other networks?
It all started in '97. You know,
All right.
I actually did my undergraduate degree here at Rutgers in electrical engineering, so I have a really strong tie to the university. I love my alma mater. And I was really eager to do something special when I got here.
Right.
And it started my first year. My first year here, I had a really sharp student who was interested in Wall Street. I happened to have a buddy that was at First Boston.
Okay.
And so I made a phone call. And listen, I've got a student who's really good. Are you willing to take him for free?
All right.
Because you got to get him in.
Right.
You know, in the beginning, we were just starting. Are you willing to take this kid for free? I mean, she's full of horsepower. She's driven. She's got spunk. All she needs is a chance.
Okay.
You know, are you willing to help her out? And he said, you know what, Ben? Yeah, I am. And she's a managing director now.
Okay.
Now, what that means is a managing director has all the horsepower she needs to make executive level decisions about hiring. So when an MD decides to put Rutgers on her map,
Right.
Rutgers has access to investment banking positions at the front office level that we never would have access to before.
So I'm going to make a leap then. So I'm going to hope that she's now paying it back with the current undergraduate students and the MBA students if we need her, if we call on her to give our students that experience.
If we call on her,
all right.
I'm definitely calling on her. But that's how it started, Bill. You know, it started with one student back in '97, and I built a really close relationship with that particular class.
All right.
And with an organization called the Little Investment Bankers of Rutgers, for which I'm the advisor of LIBOR.
All right.
And we actively reach out to the alumni. And we encourage them to give back to the school in a variety of ways, you know, especially their time. And many of these people have been very successful. They've been donating, they've been giving of their time, they've been creating jobs and opportunities.
Well, let's talk about jobs and opportunities. You know, we're kind of in an economic crisis. A lot of the pundits are saying that jobs are disappearing. We're hearing job forecasts, especially in the finance area, that they're not there, or, you know, they're a lot more selective. So talk to me about how, as a business professor, you're working with your students to deal with the reality of being a little bit more competitive out there, and kind of the situation that we're in. How do you deal with that in the classroom? How do you have that realistic conversation?
You deal with it with a combination of honesty and optimism.
Okay.
I mean, the students need to be not only aware of, but understand the constraints that they're facing in the job market nowadays. And you know, some of the traditional positions that we're looking at on the street, yeah, they've dried up.
Right.
And there have been consolidations, even in corporate finance. Like Merck just bought up Schering Plough, so that entire mid-level of management or administration is gone now. Now, what that means is that our Rutgers undergrads are going to need to leverage their transferable skills, and perhaps look in non-traditional places for gainful employment. You know, what matters is that they do something that they love and that they enjoy. If they do, regardless of where they're located, I think that they'll have a very fruitful life.
Okay. So in terms of frank conversations, because I know that you're one of those professors who can sit down and have a real honest conversation with a student, are you finding yourselves having more honest conversations with students as you head into the next couple of years about what the market might look like?
Yeah, actually I am. And I do a lot with international students.
Yes.
And the visa situation here in the U.S. is really tight. It's really tough. So what the kinds of conversations I'm having with students is that they need to be realistic. There are opportunities, but it's of absolute critical importance that they build their networks, that they develop Guanxi, bringing it back to Guanxi, that they build Guanxi with Rutgers alums who are in a position to help them. Because most of our alums, I mean, they're delightful people in the business school. They want to help, and they're looking for some way to help. And and sometimes all it takes is a simple phone call from an undergraduate that can make that link, that can lead to a relationship that ultimately, it might be a circuitous route, leads to a job and sponsorship.
In terms of coming over to the U.S. to be able to work, or vice versa?
Or vice versa. Last year I placed 2 Rutgers students in Shanghai.
One of the financial capitals of the world.
Yeah.
And having a great time over there?
Well, one of them was an international student here. He was struggling on the job market, really not having any luck. And I asked him, I've got a really good friend who's a managing director at Morgan Stanley in Shanghai.
Right.
Interested? And he's like, yeah, I'd be interested. So I made a phone call and I hooked him up when he went back for Christmas break. They met. managing director thought the kid was sharp. He's a Rutgers kid. You know, he's
Right.
sharp, he's scrappy, he works hard. And the offer took 2 weeks to happen, and that was it. We sealed the deal. And the other one was an American student. She was interested in Asia and doing business in Asia. Now, it's important that they're fluent in Chinese.
Right.
So she was an Asian studies minor. Her Chinese was about like mine, fairly decent.
Fairly decent, right.
And she went over there. They just loved her. They really loved her. She was hungry. Again, you think about a Rutgers undergraduate, my finance majors,
Right.
is that they're hungry, they've got spunk, and they do what they need to do in order to survive. And part of that is they're savvy in terms of building relationships.
Great. Well, Ben, I really appreciate this conversation around Guanxi. I appreciate the fact that you've been able to point out some examples. I know we want to talk to you about some other stuff, but we'll have you back another time. So I want to thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Joining me today are Dorothy Olszewski and Kathy Callahan. Both are members in the Center for Executive Leadership in Government at Rutgers University. Dorothy, Kathy, welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
Let's jump in. So tell me about what the center's all about, what the mission is.
Well, I think we've been in business for a little bit more than a year.
Okay.
And we've started to do work. We started with an Egypt project, and then we're doing a lot of work in New Jersey. We seem to be involved in trying to encourage development of executive leadership skills, and that's where we're working.
So Kathy, tell me a little bit about what you're doing to develop those skills. Training programs, consulting, what are you doing?
It's a variety of initiatives. We do research, we do training and consultancy. We'll be setting up a new executive MPA program in South Jersey in partnership with the Camden Department of Public Policy and Administration, and that will start in the spring. And we hope to have a cohort of 20 students that work in state government, mid and upper level executives that will be the first cohort of students. So we're very excited about that.
Great.
We're also working with the League of Municipalities to help the local governments deal with the problems of the downturn, the economic downturn. And we started that all a couple months ago, and now we're beginning to go full hilt into that.
All right.
So what we're doing there is we're having forums throughout the state. We'll probably be talking with approximately 80 municipal managers and mayors and asking them questions about how they're coping with the financial crisis. What are they doing? What services are they cutting? Are they furloughing or laying off staff? Just how do they handle the situation?
So is this the beginning of the process where you can do some benchmarks, do some recommendations about how to deal with
Yeah, we'll have a series of white papers at the end that the center will publish, and then it'll be on our website as well as the league website.
Okay.
And we hope it informs decision making at the state and local level. Here are the problems, here are some of the solutions, and let's move forward together.
And I think people are underestimating the stress that the municipalities are under, and the people that work there. It's just painful for some of the things that are coming down. So I think we're doing good.
Okay. Are there some similarities that you're already seeing with some of the municipalities? Are they cutting jobs? Are they sharing services? Kind of what are you seeing already before you go into this?
Quite a few are talking about having the county assume some of their direct service responsibilities.
Okay.
Whether it's health care, their public health departments, and it was law enforcement with the police dispatch. Rather than having a town do it, have the county do it for the municipalities within that county.
All right.
I think what took us to this topic was that we have friends that manage cities that either elected or appointed, and they really were suffering. I mean, truly. I mean, they would stay awake at night. They were put in positions to firing people that they had worked with for 15 years. It was painful to watch. So we knew that there must be some way that we can address this, and we started with a preliminary study. We got that written up, and now we're ready to take the show on the road. And I think we can have an impact because we can tell people, or we can communicate when a technique is working somewhere else. Just getting the people to talk to each other really is.
That was a big thing. They said there's no place for them to get together to talk.
Yeah.
And brainstorm and problem solve together.
So they're kind of working in isolation and not.
And they're facing the same problems.
So they could be able to have some synergy, be able to have some shared ideas,
Right.
those
Exactly.
kind of areas.
Share the pain.
And it's also in line with one of our themes is that we really want to have an impact. We just don't want to be an academic unit. We want to make sure that we're studying things that matter, and we're making recommendations that might make things better. So we are focusing on impact, and so that our research will come from that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, one of the things that interested me was the conversation of Jersey roots and going to the global context. You talked a little bit about this Egypt program. Can you talk to me about working with Egypt and kind of what you both are doing there and what the center's doing there?
Ray Caprio responded to a request for a proposal. He wrote one, and we got it. We were in competition with a number of well-known universities, and and Ray pulled it off. And we went over in March, and we spent 10 days meeting the people in the ministries, talking to the kinds of issues they have, what kinds of problems they want us to help them address.
Okay.
It's not as though we're bringing our expertise to them. Our job is to listen to the kinds of things that they want to happen and help move them faster by having an outside group come in and make recommendations that they then can bounce off of. The whole process of development can move more quickly because they'll have a baseline that they can react to.
So basically, Center for Executive Leadership and Government is really the consultant, going in to kind of listen, help, make some recommendations. Besides recommendations, are you doing any training? Are you doing collaboration? Kind of what else is going on with the Egypt program?
Well, so we do the consulting, which Dorothy was talking about, to help them establish the National Management Institute, which is very similar to what we're doing here at Rutgers in terms of good governance and training mid and upper level managers on how to be better executives, leadership, ethics, budgeting and finance. So in addition to the consultancy, we've identified Rutgers professors that will go to Cairo in the spring.
Okay.
Probably the end of January might be the earliest cohort, but we have faculty from the Blaustein School, from the Camden faculty. We have some nursing faculty from UMDMJ that'll be going over. So we're teaching week-long courses on subjects like healthcare management, transportation quality assurance, human resource management, leadership.
We've already sent 2 faculty over, David Liskin and Clint Andrews, who have wonderful reviews, and so we're hoping to follow that up. Kathy and I are delivering with two other colleagues a executive development program, which will be at one of the resorts outside of Cairo. Cairo is intense, really intense. Just driving makes you want to go back home and go to bed. But we're going to take our executives to a place where they can't run back and go to work, and they can't easily get into the cell phone contact.
They won't be distracted, so they can really be
And we're working
involved.
with our theme of impact. They're working on a real problem that a ministry in Cairo wants addressed. So we're not only going to talk about leadership skills, we're going to talk about them as they relate to a problem. So at the end of the process, we should have a preliminary examination of a problem that needs a solution, so we can give something back to the ministries.
So you're doing a lot of problem solving, mission kind of building for them to be able to talk about how we're going to do this action planning kind of implementation for them. Now, you had talked about the fact that Rutgers was not the only university that applied. Is Rutgers the sole provider of the instruction and the consulting? Or is Rutgers working with other universities, or how is that happening?
NMI is working with other universities. They've contracted with Columbia to work on some global issues, and Northern Illinois University is also doing some work with them.
All right, so it's a nice collaboration.
We're the ones really doing the management consulting, with helping them build the training institute there.
And we're the ones that are bringing most of the classes over to add depth to their offerings.
Okay, so the other thing you had talked about besides doing the Egypt program was a lot of doing the local stuff. So we had talked about a little bit about the municipalities. We had conversations around Egypt. Are there other major state products that you're working on or programs that you're working on through the center?
South Africa. We have, there's a training program that we're delivering in South Africa in April, I think, where we're talking about performance evaluation and performance measurement. And we're very happy to work with them. I have a history, and Kathy does too, of working with the University of Stellenbosch and the University of Cape Town. So, and we're part of the African Leadership Institute over there. And we're also talking about Zimbabwe and the kinds of training and the kinds of infrastructure development they're going to need when the time comes. So we've got the Africa connection is I think close to our hearts, because it's a country that we really think has a chance to be the engine of Africa.
Well, and just for our viewers, you know, Zimbabwe is to the north of South Africa and borders on South Africa, so they're very involved in the conversation in Zimbabwe and kind of what might happen with the political situation in terms of what's going on. So when you head over to, you said in April you're heading over to South Africa. How long has the center been involved with South Africa?
Well, our center's new. We've been involved in South Africa. I went over in '96 the first time, so I've been there for quite a long time.
All right.
And you've been
since
a little bit after that.
2000, I think, was my first trip there.
So, yeah, we've got a history.
You guys got a history, and it sounds like you're really busy between the local municipalities, doing some overseas involvement with South Africa, and also in the conversation around Egypt. How big is the center? How many staff do you have? Where are you located in terms of this? Where are you located in terms of the center?
We're located in the heart of downtown New Brunswick, 303 George Street, and we're a small staff, 4 women.
Okay.
Layla Sadeghi is a research analyst with us, and Angie McGuire is an assistant director.
Okay.
And that's it. That's us. There's 4 of us.
So I hear a lot of academic research and a lot of academic kind of reaching out. Are you spending a lot of time with graduate students, undergraduate students, with research assistants? And honestly, how do you fit in with the Division of Continuing Studies and some other areas there?
Well, we just helped launch an executive MPA program.
Okay.
Which is coming out of Camden. And we teach half of the courses that they'll be delivering in South Jersey.
Okay.
So that's our academic. It's one of our academic areas. In addition to, we've had so many PhD students that we end up still
advising
and
writing
working
with them.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't get away from it.
You can't get away from the students, so they're always there. The other question you had all talked about before was working with the Center for Government Services. So can you talk to me a little bit about working with them and being the research arm for them?
Well, they have the offices across the way, and that's where the chocolate is.
That's all the important things.
Yes. So
we're constantly over there.
Yeah, it was mid-afternoon, and it's time to get. So we go over to visit there. I think they're so focused, and they have such a reputation in Jersey that we're very lucky to have them close to us, because I think we can add to the kinds of things that they're trying to do. So we can add a layer of expertise on top of what they have, and I think we're very happy and very lucky that they're in our area.
Yeah, Center for Government Services, I think it's been around for 60 years, if not longer, and they provide direct training to municipalities.
So your white papers may have really a major impact in terms of where some of their programs are going.
Exactly, absolutely.
That kind of synergy between both of them in terms of, now, so they're the delivery arm and you guys are the research arm? Is that how that works?
Well, we're involved in delivery too. I mean, the Executive MPA program is a clear fit with the kinds of clientele that the Center for Government Services addresses. The executive program we're delivering in Egypt, it would so fit with the kinds of things that they're doing in CGS. So I think there's a good synergy there.
Let's go back to Egypt for a second. So I'm kind of intrigued. The reason I'm intrigued is because, it's Cairo and it seems kind of exciting. So you talk about NMI. Now, is that directly coming out of the Egyptian government? Is NMI set up from the Egyptian government? Can you kind of explain a little bit about what NMI was or is?
The Ministry of Administrative Development is the ministry that NMI is housed under.
All right.
NMI is like the Human Resource Department, the Personnel Department. They do the training, the consulting, that kinds of thing.
Okay.
It's a program that was 20 years ago a strong program that somehow got lost in the shuffle of Sadat, and now is trying to build up its reputation in the Middle East. So they're trying to get depth and outreach, both in terms of training and consultancy. So they're using us to help get the kinds of certifications, the kinds of procedures in place that they're going to need so they can ratchet up where their influence in the Middle East. Because Egypt is right in the center there, and it feels it has the location and the expertise to become a major actor.
Okay.
And we're just helping, as a consultant, we're coming in and saying, well, think of it this way, think of it that way, maybe this, and I think it makes their whole process move more quickly. By having not to have to deal with the infighting to begin with. We hand them a product and then they react to that. It makes things go
much
faster.
quicker.
Yeah.
So do you know how many folks you're potentially going to be, I know you had talked about you're sending a few faculty members over. How many programs did you all secure and working with them?
We have 11 programs that'll be running.
That's a lot. Okay.
we're thrilled, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And
Yeah,
so,
And then hopefully that will be ongoing, that, we'll start this spring, but then in the fall we'll be sending another, cohort of faculty over.
wow, that's
Yeah,
11 is a
ongoing.
huge number in terms of being able
It's
to
the
do that.
largest of all all the universities
yeah.
that are coming in. We have the lion's share.
Well, that's
so
great.
we've got pressure on to make sure we deliver the best possible product.
And I heard from you, Kathy, that you said you were working with UMD&J faculty, working with faculty from all over Rutgers to be able to deliver those programs.
Right.
Now, you had talked about going over at the end of January. Are all the professors going over at that time, or are the programs kind of delivered throughout the calendar year? How is the program delivery done?
It'll be throughout this spring semester. So in January, we'll be going over at the end of the month, and there might be 2 or 3 faculty joining us at the time. And so it'll be staggered through the spring semester to fit the faculty schedule as well.
I'm always interested about faculty, or the thing about the faculty that are involved with the program that some of us might want to know about that we haven't heard about before. How did the selection criteria go for the faculty?
We're very concerned about people that have not only the depth of the expertise, but are sensitive to the cultural differences.
Okay.
They can go into a classroom that is non-American, and be able to be successful in communicating the kinds of information that they're trying to get across. And I think that was one of our big criteria in looking. We wanted people with international experience that felt good about going into an environment that isn't Rutgers.
Yeah.
Oh,
And are also known for being good teachers.
yeah.
Being a good academic and a researcher is one thing, but being good in the classroom and engaging the students is something totally different.
So our faculty who are selected for the program are going to go through training about some of the cultural differences, and are they going to be doing
I don't think we're going to call it training. I mean,
Okay. Are they going to receive information?
we will have orientation.
No,
yes,
orientation,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Could you imagine inviting faculty to training and they can show up? I don't think so.
So they'll obviously go through some orientation about cultural differences, be able to understand some of the issues that are relevant
Right.
to when they're doing the
And
training.
we have the little things about this logistics. What hotel? Where's the training? Will they pick me up at the airport? We know all of that kinds of thing. Is the food safe? Is everything? Will I see the pyramids? All of those questions. Yes, the answer is yes.
Important to know. Yeah. Got that.
And we have a website that will have all this information, as well as relevant newspaper articles and research papers that they can refer to.
Well,
And the time and temperature there.
The time
well, in the short time that we have left, what's your website's address?
That's huge.
Oh, it's huge. Is it the Center for Executive Leadership and Government.Rutgers.edu?
Yeah, I think so.
It might work.
All right.
It might work.
Google it. Put it on the
Well, Google it. We'll put it on the information. As soon as we find it, we'll put the link on our Rutgers.tv link
Okay.
site. So
Wonderful.
Well, we're wrapping up, so I want to say thank you very much for being here. Thanks for providing
Thanks.
the insight, and I really do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
No problem. So that's all the time we have for this edition for Breakfast at the Barracks. For more information about the subjects we've discussed here today, please visit our website at Rutgers.tv. For all of us at the Rutgers Division of Continuing Studies, I'm Bill Leipold, and thank you for watching.